Welcome to the Next. I'm the host, Jason Jacobs. This show sorts through the nuances of athlete development through the lenses of a dad who's trying to sort through those nuances for my own kids, but also as an entrepreneur who's building my next company in the category of digital platform that offers high-end player development at a more affordable price per kid and family using technology to automate a bunch of what's happening under the hood. Today's guest is Matt Whitney with IPH Hockey. IPH Hockey is a skills organization in Connecticut that offers private lessons, small group lessons, skills, camps, both at their own mini rink, but also across the state. Now, I got to Matt through Pete Gintoli at Tabor Academy, the assistant coach there, who told me that he worked under Matt at IPH, and Matt taught him a lot about how to be the high-end player development person that Pete turned into today. We have a great discussion in this episode about Matt's journey in the sport, playing at Franklin Pierce and then at St. Mike's. We talk about his transition to player development, where he started, how his views have evolved over time. We talk about his philosophies, how they try to keep it fun, and how they're inclusive. They train some very high-end players, and they train some younger players earlier in their journeys, and everything in between. And we talk about what's consistent across those age groups and skill levels, and also how they personalize the approach and do it different based on players' individual needs. We have a pretty far-reaching discussion about the state of the sport, what's going well, what's not going well, what Matt's seen in terms of what works best from a player development standpoint, and where Matt thinks the sport is going. I enjoyed this one, and I hope you do as well. Matt Whitney, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. Hopefully you live up to the hype. I had Pete Gintoli on the show, and we had an awesome discussion, assistant coach over at Tabor, and he said that you trained him in how to be a skills guy, and he credits you and can't speak more highly of you.
Very generous.
Yeah, so psyched to learn more about the man and the myth.
Yeah, right on. No, I'm excited to be here. No, Pete's a really good man, and he's given me way more credit than I need. But thanks, Pete. Pete came to us pretty well polished as it was. It's that whole thing of good players make good coaches, right? But we definitely have a bit of a philosophy on things. But Pete's a sponge. That guy, student of the game. That guy.
I definitely want to get into the philosophy. Maybe before we go there, just talk a bit about your journey as a player and when and how and why you transitioned into being a coach.
Yeah, sure. My journey is nothing too crazy. Started off playing youth hockey, and then I was fortunate enough to make the whole Tier 1 thing when it was time back many, many years ago.
Grew up in Connecticut, is that right?
I grew up in Connecticut. Yep, I was a Connecticut guy, so I did the whole thing down here. And I was fortunate to go to prep school. My parents worked very hard to get me there. And then I played junior and played in college, and that's it. And then here we are. That's kind of it. I was lucky enough that when I was playing in college, doing like lessons and that sort of thing was always a really good kind of side hustle, if you will. So I was doing lessons in my late teens, early 20s.
This was summers?
Summers, yeah. You'd come home in the summer and you'd grind it out as much as you could for about 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and then save up and get back to school. It was great. We essentially started our business back then a little bit, if you think about it, because we were laying the framework for what we have now, and we're very lucky to have what we have now.
And when you were growing up,
yeah,
I guess at what point did you decide to get serious about the game, and as a player, and what did the landscape look like for you coming up in terms of like people like yourself with your IPH hat on? Like, were there a lot of skill shops around? Did you do a lot of development outside of the team-based stuff? What the landscape look like then, and how does that compare to what you today?
Yeah, so I was probably a peewee or so when it was time to quote unquote get serious, when I made the jump from just town youth hockey over to the Tier 1 AAA thing. And the reality is it could not be more different now than it was back then. The amount of skill coaches that we have now, nothing compared to the way it was back then. I don't think I did my first private lesson that I actually participated in until I was probably 18 or 19 years old. Now our players have so much more access to skills and training. It's fantastic. It can also be very muddy and murky and hard to navigate. But yeah, no, it's completely different. Not just the skill piece, just the amount of teams, amount of option for kids nowadays it's nothing like it was almost 30 years ago when I was growing up. Very different.
And so tell me about the progression of IPH. You mentioned that it started when you were still in school, but yeah, like maybe what are the key chapters in that journey looking backwards, and where does it sit today in terms of what you're up to, how you do
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. So I was fortunate to start this company with one of my best friends, Mike Harder. He and I both did lessons and we just merged together, if you will, years ago. And we're really, really lucky that we got to, we started off, we got lucky because hockey went the way we were going, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't really an industry when we started. There weren't, Instagram was just getting going. There was it wasn't really a thing. So we started in our infancy as just the two of us going, and we brought some folks on that were local people that we knew to work with us in the summers and that sort of thing. And it was a big summer training type stuff. So when we weren't playing, we'd be training, and we melded our own training into some lessons and that sort of thing. And it fortunately turned into what it is today. It's like I said before, we were very lucky that hockey went the way it did. If it went into the 90s, everybody just got big and started hitting a little bit more and a little, I don't want to say tougher, but tougher in some ways, we wouldn't have what we have today. There's no doubt we wouldn't be able to have the staff that we have and all the rank. We would, there's no chance because hockey went in the right direction for us. Let's put it that way.
I feel like skills training when I was in college was like run 4 laps around the track and do some bench press and creatine.
Yeah, it's way more fun now, isn't it? It's way more fun now. No, it was the same for you, but like the on ice like wasn't really as much of a focus when we were younger. It was more about the gym stuff, and we're big believers in that still. And we sounds like we're talking on both sides of our mouth because we only do ice stuff. We partner up with some fantastic gyms in the area, and they do a great job. But we still tell our players like the gym, the off ice is really where you need to make your gains in the summer. But the reality is now you need to make some gains on the ice too. So back when it was, I don't know, let's say it was 90-10, right? 90% in the gym, 10% on the ice, maybe 30 years ago. Now it's way closer to 50-50. Now, whether or not that's a good thing or not, we're still figuring that piece out, but there's way more on ice components to your summer training now than it used to be.
And what are your focus areas as a firm? Is there a typical type of player that you work with, a typical type of age that you work with, a portfolio approach? Maybe just talk a bit about who you serve.
Everybody. That's the bottom line here with what we do is we work with everybody. We're really lucky that we pride ourselves on that. We'll have a player that is a Division One, either a commit or they're on playing Division One right now. And then 45 minutes later, you're going to have a 6-year-old that has a straight stick and can't skate backwards or stop on their left foot. So we really have tried to pride our brand on being accessible to all players because hockey's hard, it's expensive, and we want to be inclusive to anyone that wants to get better. And we always feel like if we help grow the game, it's better for everybody.
And what type of formats? I know we talked a little bit about this offline,
Yeah.
but is it mostly group stuff? Do you do privates? Are there certain philosophies that you ascribe to as it relates to the way that you run your sessions?
Yeah, the philosophy is really simple and it's going to sound very, I don't know if it's lame, but it's just have fun and love getting better. If you don't enjoy your session with us, right? We always say your kids should come off smiling and sweaty. So if you did both things, then we help contribute to the game. We help that kid get better that day. Not to go off on a tangent on it, but the reality is life's pretty hard sometimes, we all know. And we want the 45 minutes that the players have with us to be like their little escape, right? So we joke around a lot, maybe too much once in a while, but there's our brand is it's you enjoy it. And we also feel like, I mean, God, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you don't want to dread doing it. So you get better when you're enjoying yourself. So we push kids really, really hard. We're always getting them out of their comfort zone, doing things that they're not good at. or they're good at but can be better at. One of the first things we generally ask a player when they come see us, whether they're 8 or whether they're 18, tell me something that you're good at, tell me something that you're not good at. And then we try to go from there. But it's an interesting thing. Kids get frustrated. We always say to them, look, if you were good at all this, you wouldn't need to come see us, right? The whole point of you being here is to do things that you're not good at. And that can be a difficult thing, right?
What are some examples of some ways that you found are effective at keeping it fun? And maybe the opposite question too, what are some examples of what not to do?
Yeah. So keeping it fun is, I would say, constant PG style chirping. The more we joke around, we have fun with the kids and be self-deprecating on our end, like that's really it, right? Just think about it. Like if you are working with an adult and you're a kid and that adult isn't smiling and isn't energetic and isn't making your experience fun, or you're not going to enjoy that. So the first thing is we tell our new instructors, oh, keep it PG, but find a way to make that kid smile in the first 3 minutes. Whether it's you throw your glove at them because they mess up or something like that, or whatever, make some kind of joke, or that's what their favorite food is. And the truth is, it's usually completely non-hockey related. It's usually something out of the norm. And then once you break down that little barrier, you can connect with almost anybody, right? As soon as you have a little bit of comfort and confidence level. And then, in terms of what doesn't work, right? We find that it doesn't work if, and I got to be very careful how I word this because I don't want people to think that we're just there to joke around for 45 minutes because it's expensive. But if you're so serious in what you do, right, that you can't, how do I word this the right way, that you can't either listen to feedback from a player or a parent, or if you can't connect with that player or a parent because as a coach, then that never works. I'm not sure if that's something you've heard or not, Jason, but we're big believers in learning from the kids that we train. And we ask, especially our older players, say, does this work? And oftentimes they'll say, nope, not going to work. And when we say, all right, why? Tell me, because you see the game differently than I do. You see the game from somebody that's trying to knock you down and take the puck away from you. We see it only from the outside looking in. So I'm not sure if they answered your question or not. Hopefully it did a little bit, but that's really what we see doesn't work. When you let your ego get in the way of coaching, we find like that's probably the biggest thing that keeps folk from either continuing to work for us, with us, or new hires, if you will.
Uh-huh. I mean, one of the things that I'm seeing is just so different today relative to when we were growing up is just the parental involvement. And as it becomes club and as the geography is more distributed and as your teammates don't live near you and the parent needs to do a bunch of driving and it's getting more expensive and
Nope.
it's getting more competitive and so I think the investment in terms of dollars and in terms of time has gone up, which then makes the parent say, what am I getting in return? Almost looking at the kid like a product, which means more pressure and less fun. And
Correct.
I think the flip side of that is like instilling habits and helping the kid to work towards achieving mastery and keeping them out of trouble and giving them confidence when they're good at something. And I think there's a bunch of benefits that come from kind of the structure as well. But how do you think about that tension and what have you seen that falls into kind of the healthy or unhealthy category for parents that are trying to navigate that?
Yeah. So we have this discussion all the time. First of all, we half-heartedly say, in some respects, to an extent, and I'm going to be very asterisk at the extent, hockey parents have earned their crazy a little bit. All right. So you're going to give up every single weekend that you have, right? For X amount of years. You're going to give up how much money? Because you're spending a lot of money on this sport, never mind just the regular season, but the outside of it, it's a ton, right? So then we say, I've got kids. The reality is you would do anything you can for your kids, right? So you do that, but you also give up a little part of you in some ways. And that's what we choose to do as a mom and a dad. But at the same time, it's gonna eat into you a little bit, so to speak, right? It's gonna get, you're gonna think about, man, I could have been home this weekend instead of going to Rochester and played in that showcase where we had 6 kids on the bench in total. My kids are gassed. I'm gassed. Could have gone to the beach, right? There's no chance you're not going to have that conversation. So what we talk about is the ROI you get from it. And where we see the biggest problem is families that want the ROI in a quick and 100% hockey related return on investment. Okay. The reality is, and this goes back to a little bit our vibe and again, how we joke around and our biggest thing, what we talk about a lot is confidence building. And you're only getting successful at things if you're confident, right? For the most part. And if you can instill that, if your ROI is, wow, my kid is a better human being for all this extra work they're putting in, for all this extra time, they're better in the classroom because they know how hard they have to work on the ice and they understand that they don't get the ice reward if they don't get the classroom work done. We were talking yesterday about this with a friend of ours, the team aspect. So you get put into a small group in your classroom, let's say you're in 6th, 7th grade, and you're a really good teammate in your group because you're a really good teammate on the ice because you learned how to work with other people. And that translates into high school. And that moves on to the real world, right? We always say hockey is a great microcosm for life. It's just this small little compartment of what it is. We're not all going to like our teammates, right? Which is not going to happen. We're also not going to love our coworkers. But at the end of the day, we have to work together so that we can achieve those same goals. And we think that's the ROI. And it's less about just saying, Johnny did 7 private lessons in the last 3 weeks, and he didn't score 6 goals this weekend. When I'm putting $1,000, where am I getting it back? Well, maybe you're getting it back that Johnny worked really, really hard, and he understands that maybe he didn't get 6 goals, but his shot got better because he put an effort in. And then maybe you learn that maybe the 7 lessons wasn't worth it. Maybe the ROI would have been you taking 2 of those days off, and you went out and played mini golf.
There's some people that say that the U.S. has it wrong in terms of 80% games and 20% skills, and if you look at places in other parts of the world, it's flipped and it's much more time on individual development. But then there's another narrative that says that the kids are getting so overskilled individually, and their hockey sense isn't keeping up. They're not watching enough hockey. They're just seeing the Instagram clips of kids doing the Michigan and stuff, and they're not learning how to play as a team, especially because they're probably switching teams every season or every other season. How do you think about the state of development and what the right balance is? And the answer might be it depends. I'm just curious how you think about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, the reality is I'm going to quote a friend of mine here who owns a great Phil's company, Chris Regano. Let the kids play. I think we have, and we're guilty of it, right? So what we do is skills. I think there's a huge balance of creating better hockey players and then just creating robots, right? That's really, really difficult. Kids have to make decisions. And there's only so many times you can say, okay, go around this cone to the left. What do you do when that cone starts to move at you and it's 190 pounds and it's going faster than you are and wants to knock you down? How do you adjust to that? The only way is 2 ways. Really, there's not only ways. We want to be careful because you're only limited by your creativity. First, it's gameplay. And then 2, it's creating game-like scenarios in your training sessions that might register when the puck actually drops, right? So you're trying to recreate certain environments, if that makes sense, certain environments, certain scenarios that come up often. But the truth is, everyone is still different, right? All those scenarios are still a little bit different all the time. There's no black and white. It's not football. And I don't know enough about football, so I'm casting some aspersions probably here, but it's not like you just draw the John Madden plays up, X goes here, O goes here, and this is what happens, black and white, right? There's so many X factors with hockey that you have to be able to read it and make those choices. And I really think you learn a lot of that through free play type scenarios.
When it comes to recreating those scenarios like you were describing, where do you get your inspiration from? Like, is it just School of Hard Knocks? There's no substitute for experience and it's all trial and error? Are there books? Are there courses? Are there mentors that have been particularly valuable? Like if for the coaches listening or even the moms or dads for that matter that just want to help their kids, what advice do you have?
There's two, right? There's two really big things that kick out to me anyways. One is watching hockey and being a student of the game. And the more you watch, the more you like immerse yourself in it. Certain things happen over and over and over again. Again, with the caveat that they're always a little bit different. So I wanted to be a student of the game. And then personally, I've talked about myself, but it's our staff. Honestly, like I learned everything. We've got about 14 plus instructors on our staff. And yesterday we had a group of, I think, 13 or 14 really, really nice players, prep school, college, junior players. And we had four of us out there. And one coach is running the drill and the other one comes over and says, "Hey, what do you think if we add this? Because this might happen here and that might." That's just amazing. That's the home run for me. I get to live in an environment that's constant professional development, right? So again, those are really my two answers: watching the game, getting immersed in it, and then being around people like Peach and Dolan who are also students of the game and just love it. And again, I'm spoiled that I get to be around a fantastic staff all day long.
That made me think of a different question I haven't thought of before, which is when you add staff, you talk about for the kids, the whole robots versus free play and that they need to learn how to think for themselves.
Yep.
How do you balance that with your staff in terms of consistency of quality of the brand and giving the instructors the ability to and the liberty to be creative and try stuff?
Yep. So it's a very difficult balance, and we're incredibly lucky to have a fantastic staff. I've missed over the years, no doubt. Some folks just weren't a good fit, and that's on me to make that call. But the reality is we train our coaches when they come into us. We train them. We bring them in as the extra coach, if you will. We have them shadow lessons. We'll even take a day where we just call them PD days, and we'll bring in 3 or 4 kids at no charge for their lesson, and we'll just run sessions together. And we'll say, "Hey, this works, try this, don't try this, do that. That didn't work because of this." And the big thing is a lot of these coaches, which is very cool, they bring their own sense of the game to us. So we learn from them too. So there becomes a point where there is basically no or to very little like direction from us at some point. It's go do your thing, we trust you. But there is definitely some training involved, no doubt.
And you have your own facility, correct?
We do, yeah. We own a studio rink. It's great. It's about the size of half of a zone. So if you divided an end zone in half, and then we use rinks all over the state of Connecticut. We buy ice at 4 or 5 other facilities. So we're lucky to have a bunch of different places to work out of.
Huh? As technology continues to infiltrate the sport and all aspects of life,
Yeah.
for that matter, what are some aspects of technology that you're excited about, and what are some aspects that you could do without?
Yeah. That's a great question. So can I give the same answer for both, so to speak? I'll say the first
absolutely.
thing. I don't know if it's technology, but I'm going to say social media. I don't know if I can throw that out there. We have this little expression here. We're lucky. Our staff works so hard. There's a lot of in the summer 10 to 14-hour days, and we get we call it drill dry, where we're just like anything, too much ice cream, right? So we either talk about, okay, talk to the other staff, think about what we can do to get out of that little funk, or you go on Instagram and check out what other people are doing and see if it's something like, okay, I like that. I don't like this. I could apply that here. And sometimes it's just for inspiration, right? And I think that's really, really cool. The downside, there's a couple downsides, but to social media is we get obsessed with it a little bit, right? The worst thing we see is for the kids. It's a little bit about development, but it's more about the mental development of it. Johnny Jones is playing on a really good prep school team, right? He's a really good player. He's got a good future ahead of him, let's say, or her. And they're on social media and they see Sammy Smith commit to X school. And you're saying, what do you mean? I'm a winner than that kid. Why is that kid going there? And then they start to snowball from that, right? They're seeing other people in their age bracket commit to schools when they're not. It makes them stressed out because they're concerned about, where am I going to go? If all these slots are filling up, why am I not getting the phone calls? And it becomes very, very dangerous. And this is a whole topic of society maybe than anything else, but It's very dangerous and very easy to compare yourself to other people, not only in the next town over, but in the two stalls next to you in the locker room. And that can be really, really tough. And what some kids don't understand is that at that highest level, let's say Division 1, it's so finite that maybe they are just looking for a lefty D man and you're a righty. And that was it. That's the only reason why they're at that level for that particular team. And I think that kids can get obsessed with social media in that regard, and it really gets in the way of them worrying about their own development because they try to pace themselves to others. And then the other side of it is, again, this is a good, bad, otherwise type of thing, but the fact that you only see the best things happen on Instagram, right? You don't necessarily see the player that tries the 75 toe drags and then it goes the other direction. They get pickpocketed and the other team scores, right? So you never see the negative side. You only see the glam, which is fun, right? We all love seeing people be successful. But the reality is something that works 1 out of 10 times. What are you going to do with the other 9? And the kids try to emulate people like the Connor McDavid to the world, who's just amazing, but we're not Connor McDavid, right? Just the difference between a Division 3 hockey player and a Division 1 hockey player, sometimes you train them very, very differently. So it's that balance of emulating people that you want to be like, and then also understanding that not everybody's like those players.
And then similar question around a different side of technology, which is more on the player development side when it comes to using video, when it comes to being data-driven, when it comes to, seems like things are going crazy in terms of tracking every little facet of possession and where the shots are coming from and speed and whatever. There's probably 200 metrics, right? And I guess the flip side is like, hey, loosen the grip and just go out there and play and be creative and have fun. And like if you get too mired in the data, it's just you're gonna become paralyzed by it, or you're gonna stiffen up and it's gonna ruin your game. How do you think about video and data as tools for development?
Yeah, my answer would be let's do both, right? Let's try to find a way to do both. I think that analytics are real, right? It's a math problem. So I think if the stat says what 50% of the goals come from this side of the ice on this particular goalie, right? It's probably accurate because it's a math problem. The reality is trying to find ways to use those analytics we call it the gray areas of the game, right? Where it's not black and white. That's great that they're coming from that side of the ice, but if that team has decided to stack 2 D-man on that same side all the time, what are you going to do? You got to find a way to work around it. So I think it's both, right? I think you have to be able to use the analytics to try to help your game as a student of it. And then as a team, I think you may have to just work around what is being thrown at you by the opponent and then taking those analytics into account, seeing where you can be successful.
We talked a little bit about this offline, but I remember you saying that when you even said in this episode, when you bring a player in, you ask them what they're good at and what they're not, and it's largely relying on their verbal input to inform what you work on. If you had access, and I think you said that that video would be helpful, but that there's just not any time. If video was accessible to you, in what form would it be useful, and how would you utilize it? And what are some of the barriers that are holding you back from getting it? If you even want it, the answer might be I don't want it and I don't need it. Right? But yeah, how do you think about that?
No, we don't shut the door on anything until it hits us in the nose. That's the reality with us. Is we try to explore every avenue that could help make us better as coaches and as trainers, if you will. I think that we use video in our sessions all the time. So we're doing a whole session right now where there's a 20 to 30 minute video session right after. So we love it. We're not opposed to any of it.
From the session
From
itself.
the session, yeah. And then we also have clips of NHL players that they relate back to one another. Hey, this is what we worked on today, and this is how it relates to this in the game. Here's what you did. Let's analyze your stride here for 20 or 30, not as a group, but yeah, we love it. We love video. We think video is very, very, very helpful. And I think it's very good for kids to see what they do as opposed to just being told what they do. I think sometimes the visual goes a really long way for players. Yeah, we would definitely use it more, provided it fits in with aspects of our model, right? So some of our private lessons with the way that works, fortunately, thank goodness that we stay busy with it. But if a parent is able to bring something to us to the table and say, hey, here's a minute and a half of what Johnny's having a hard time with. Is there something is there a way you could tailor your lesson to this? And that's fantastic. That's no problem. That's sometimes easier than us hearing, when Johnny comes on the left-hand side, his right leg points this way and left leg point, and the parents are great. And this is not a chirp on them, but sometimes they even have a hard time articulating what exactly they want to get across to us.
Got it. And what about in terms of just point skills, like a shooting lesson or edge work, or like that whole narrative that the game is getting over individual skilled and under delivering relative to
Right.
the individual ability? Are there types of individual skills that either aren't as helpful as people think or might actually be detrimental to a player's overall game in a team environment?
I don't know that the skills are detrimental, but it's probably the application, right? So you, I look, gosh, I don't want to be black and white about it, but I think it'd be wrong to say, hey, if you get too any faster, it's not gonna be good for you, right? You can always get faster, you can always shoot harder, you can always do things a little bit more, you can always do a +1 on the attributes, right? Always add a little bit. Question is, how do you apply that into your game? And does it change you as a player negatively, I guess is the way to put it. Which I think it probably can. I think if we do, let's say, hard skill is puck handling, right? Let's say you go to town on your stick handling, you get way better at it, but now you're overusing it and you're not applying it in the particular areas that you need to. You can argue that that's a detriment, right? That kind of went the wrong way. If you're somebody that got so excited about your shot getting harder, but now you're taking everything from outside the dots and missing the net by 30 feet, that's not good either, right? So there's probably a balance in there. I don't think that getting better at the hard skills is a negative. I think that's probably always a positive. The question is, how do you apply it?
What does the future have in store for IPH?
Hopefully wake up tomorrow and the ice is still frozen. That's always a big thing in our world when you own the rink. That's our little joke is
Is Zamboni maintenance in your job description?
oh gosh, yeah. Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, absolutely.
HVAC maintenance too, maybe?
HVAC, I learned way more in the last 2 years than I ever wanted to. And again, thankfully we have such a great staff they've taken it under their own wings to learn a lot themselves. We do have some dedicated rink only people. Anybody on our staff can drive our Zamboni at this point, so to speak, just part of the deal. And yeah, there's a lot more to it. Let's put it that way. I have a way better, I guess, appreciation or respect for when people complain about rinks ice or this or that and the other thing. There's a lot more to it, man. Let's put it that way. It's not really super straightforward, especially when it's 105 degrees out and things get a little steamy sometimes. But yeah, no, I've learned a lot more about non-hockey related stuff in the last 2.5, 3 years. Absolutely. More than I wanted to know. Let's put it that way.
And when you think about the future of IPH, what gets you most excited?
Yeah, just honestly, from the selfish standpoint of me being able to do it still, me being able to connect with players and other coaches, I feel very lucky that my life has been able to go in this direction and I get to be around this great sport still every day. In terms of the company itself, from the business standpoint, we'd obviously like to see continued stable growth. And we'd like to give more coaches the opportunity. We're very lucky that we're able to give coaches full-time positions here, where hopefully they can at least start to feed their families and do that sort of thing, pay some bills off of it. And then if it ends up being a stepping stone to somewhere else, then that's also great. And we've personally, I'm lucky that I've been able to feed my family off of it. And hopefully this is something that somebody else can do someday too.
Great. Is there anything I didn't ask that you wish I did, or any parting words for listeners?
No, I want to thank you for having me on. First of all, I really, really appreciate it. I don't get this kind of opportunity very often. So it means a lot that you want to talk to me, Jason. I really appreciate it. And I think it's great what you're doing for hockey and for the game. I think the more we can expose people to the way our sport operates, I think the better. And I appreciate everything you're doing. So thank you.
Thanks, Matt. I really enjoyed the discussion. Definitely looking forward to staying in touch. And yeah, I'll keep you posted on my stuff. as it evolves. It's a bit unnerving to be sorting through it publicly in this way. I feel a little bit like the emperor with no clothes, but you make the bed, you sleep in it, and this is the way I choose to build. One foot in front of the other.
That's exactly it, right? And that's you nail it. You're either all in or you're all out. And that's it.
Yeah. And whether anyone's paying attention or not, the fact that I think that a lot of people are paying attention holds me, that's a little hack I found to keep me accountable. So
Hey, perception's reality, man. Perception's reality. If you feel like
huge following, people are dying to know where this goes. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. But hey, sometimes one is enough, right? Sometimes just knowing that one person's interested is good enough to keep you going.
If I wasn't learning in public, we wouldn't have had this discussion, because that's how I got to Pete, and then Pete's how I got to you, and yeah. At any rate, best of luck, and go IPH.
Speak to you soon. Bye now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Next. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, and you haven't already, you can subscribe from your favorite podcast player, whether it's Apple, Spotify, or any of the others. We also send a newsletter every week on the journey itself, the new content that we publish, the questions that we're wrestling with, how the platform itself is coming along that we're planning to build for player development, and where we could use some help. And you can find that at thenextnext.substack.com. Thanks a lot, and see you soon.